Hey guys, it's Bakington, back at it again, and today is our Pride-themed video. Now, it's been a hot minute. Life is busy. I'm, married with a job, so I have a lot to do in my day, but I thought I'd hop on here and give you guys 5 really fun and very easy Pride-themed recipes for all your wonderful rainbow food needs. But that's not important. What is important is Pride-themed food, as I'm not the hugest fan of, the giant rainbow ostentation of Pride, especially the corporate commercial side of it, just because I think businesses don't actually care about you or your identity, they're just trying to sell you some stuff. But now that I'm seeing a bit more pushback against Pride as a concept, let's do some Pride stuff to stir the pot a little bit, okay? Now, let's hop into that first recipe, Pride White Chocolate Rainbow Sprinkle Fudge. We're gonna start by measuring 3 cups of white chocolate chips into a microwave-safe bowl. Now I'm gonna nuke this in the microwave in 30-second bursts until smooth. The times vary depending on your microwave settings. Once your white chocolate is nice and smooth, we're gonna add 1 can, 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. And mix everything together. And now we're gonna pour the mix quickly into a pan. This is a 9x9 pan lined with baking paper. And now I'm gonna sprinkle on a thick coating of rainbow sprinkles. I'm talking a thick, like Lizzo thick. Give it a gentle pat. Now I'm gonna set this somewhere to chill until it's nice and firm. Yum! Wow, that was really gay. Sorry about that. I know this is a Pride video, but that was a little too gay even for me. Now let's talk our next recipe, Pride Rainbow Cereal Treats. We're gonna start with 1 bag of marshmallows, along with 6 tablespoons of butter. Now we're gonna nuke this in the microwave in 30-second bursts for about 2 to 3 minutes. Psst, don't tell anyone. My secret ingredient is a heaped tablespoon of milk powder. And we're gonna mix everything together. Now we're gonna add 5 cups of Fruit Loops. I was called a Fruit Loop once. And we're gonna spoon it all into a glass dish. You can use like a 9x9 or like a 13x9 pan. But all my pans are currently being used by other recipes. And, of course, finish off with some more
gay sprinkles.
If you're like me and you want things a little smoother, place another piece of baking paper on the top and something flat and just kind of use it, gently push everything around until you get a nice flat surface. It also helps the
gay sprinkles.
Ta-da! Now, for this and the fudge, you could use... Hey there. I'm gonna use a mezzaluna. Just go woo all the way through. And look how fun that looks. Now, while those are all setting, let's talk our next treat. Pride Rainbow Panna Cotta. Now let's make our panna cotta. In a small bowl, we're gonna add 1/2 cup of milk. We're gonna let bloom 1.5 packets of unflavored gelatin. While we're letting this bloom, I have got 2.5 cups of cream simmering on the stove. Once your cream comes to a simmer, you're going to take it off the heat and you're going to add in your bloomed gelatin. You could also use agar. We're also going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and between 1/3 to 1/2 cup of sugar, depending on how much sweetness you like. I like things really sweet. Once you've got everything nice and smooth, it's time to split this into 6. If my math is correct, 3 cups of liquid will break down into 6 half-cup portions. Ta-da! I'm gonna add the food coloring. We'll start with the primaries. Also, pro tip to keeping the dye transfer from happening between mixes, keep a little cup of water handy and just swirl your whisk around between each mix. No transfer. Now I'm going to pour each layer into a greased ramekin, starting with the red layer. Let's see how much red we have, because it turned out to be slightly more than 1/2 cup each. And if you care about aesthetics, and obviously I do, or else I wouldn't be doing this, I like to wipe down the sides so that way the exterior looks as good as it can. Once your first layer is mostly set, we're going to add our second layer on, and to prevent any breakage, I'm just going to pour it gently on using a spoon to break the fall. Now it's time to unmold our panna cotta. I ran a knife around the edge and kind of jiggled it until it came down. I don't have much hope for this one because this is the one that I broke through that first layer of red. And... but hey, it's a mess. It's absolutely a mess, but Look at those rings. That is still very pretty. I like this color. Ooh, that's a nice side right there. That may be the side that we photographed. My husband has an English bulldog and she jiggles about this. These last two are gonna step the difficulty up just a little bit here. Next, let's talk our Pride Rainbow Cereal Cookies. We're gonna start with 1 cup of soft butter, and we're gonna add 1.5 cups of white sugar, and we're gonna beat all this together, and a heavy dose of vanilla, maybe about 2 teaspoons, and an egg, and beat everything together. Now we're gonna add 2.5 cups of flour, and here I've got half a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now here comes the fun part. We're gonna add 2 cups of Fruity Pebbles. I was called a Fruity Pebble once. Add 1/4 cup of
Gay sprinkles.
and for a little extra sweetness, a handful of white chocolate chips. Mix everything up. Scoop 2 tablespoons of your cookie dough out into little cookies, then put them in a 350-degree oven for 10 to 12 minutes or until they're just starting to go brown. And here are our baked cookies, and they look absolutely incredible. Now to round the difficulty out, let's finish on a high note with our Pride Rainbow Tie-Dye Cupcakes. Now let's make some cupcakes. We're gonna start with 4 eggs. Next up is 2 cups of granulated sugar. We're gonna whip all this together. We're gonna keep doing this until we get a pale, fluffy mix. It's gonna take a little longer than you think. See, thick, and it leaves a small trail when you drag your whisk around. A big dash of vanilla. Now we're gonna add a combination of 1/3 cup of melted butter and 1/2 cup of oil, a neutral flavored oil. Next we're gonna add 2 cups of flour and a tablespoon of baking powder and a big pinch of salt. Mix. And when you're about halfway done, you're gonna add in a cup of milk. Psst, don't tell anyone. But my secret ingredient is a tablespoon of instant vanilla pudding powder. All right, everybody. Now I have no idea how much batter this made, so it's gonna be kind of sort of a guesstimate, trying to figure out how to split this into 6 different colors. So we're just gonna start with 1/2 cup and go from there. Now let's fill with these fun Pride cupcake liners. Now I'm just gonna start spooning batter haphazardly into each one, starting with the red. It doesn't matter too much if they bleed. There will be sort of a swirly tie-dye look. You do, however, need to be mindful of how much you fill these up because you have 5 other colors. Now we're gonna slide these into a 350-degree oven for 20 to 22 minutes. Ta-da! Here's our baked cupcakes and they look absolutely divine. All right, everyone, so I'm actually having a mid-frosting crisis here. I was initially rolling my cupcakes in sprinkles after I frosted them, but I actually hate how this looks, so I'm deciding I'm just gonna leave them plain. It'll let the color of the cake itself shine through. And I like the white contrast with a rainbow. That's why I like using like the white fudge instead of like a rainbow fudge, because if it's all rainbow, it just kind of looks like a mess. Look at all these sweet treats. I arranged them on my board. It's like the gayest charcuterie board I've ever seen. We've got cookies, we got the treats, cupcakes, we got the fudge, and of course the jiggly rainbow panna cotta rounding it all out. And I think this is quite the Pride spread. Now, again, I'm not much for the big corporate commercialization of Pride, and I think I'm kind of glad to see the end of it. But what I'm not glad to see is that people think that means that Pride itself is over, but it is not. Side note, there's no better reason to bake than spite. And there you have it, 5 fantastic recipes, all nice and neatly packed for you. All right, see you guys when I see you next. Later.